Caution, the Mark Gungor Show contains adult content intended for an adult audience. And, besides that, he's really weird. Welcome to the Mark Gungor Show with international marriage speaker and author of Laugh Your Way to a Better Marriage, Mark Gungor. This is your source for practical, down-to-earth marriage advice without all the over-spiritualization or romantic nonsense. And now the host of the Mark Gungor Show, Mark Gungor.
And the crowd goes wild with delirious joy. They've joined the Mark Gungor Show, the show that deals with all things concerning marriage. Indeed, I'm your host, the one, the only Mark Gungor. Joining me as always, the ever-lovely Lady Diane. And, of course, the amazing Philip James Gungor. Engineering the show, as always, very talented but eerily creepy Timothy Robert Ray, pushing buttons, twisting knobs, and trying to stay awake during this incomprehensibly, immeasurably boring show. This is the show that handles your marital challenges, relational conundrums. I can't speak today. Relational conundrums and dating dilemmas that you can email to us at ask@markgungor.com. All right, talk. So I don't have to talk.
The U.S.
Apparently, I can't talk.
You'll talk over me, though. The U.S. Pew Research Center released a report that said sexual connection is key to happy marriages.
Okay.
On the list of, you're in, I know, right? On a list of factors deemed very important to a successful marriage, married people ranked satisfying sexual relationship higher than almost every other item.
Wow.
Higher than sharing household chores, higher than shared religious beliefs, higher even than adequate income. 61% of respondents said a satisfying sexual relationship, while 56% said the chores, household chores. 47% said the religious shared religious beliefs. 43% said having children. 42% said adequate income. At the bottom of the list was agreement on politics. Only 16% said that was important. And at the very top was having shared interests, 64%. So only by a little bit, because it was 61% said the sex and 64% having shared said having, and I can't talk, it's contagious.
It's contagious.
Having shared interests.
So the top one was sex.
No, the top one was having shared interests.
Having shared interests was the most important thing.
Key to, a happy, successful marriage. Very important, But only by 3 percentage points. And then
Still.
Having a good sex life was right below that.
Shared interests. What does that mean?
Did you do stuff together? Things in
There's
common?
very happily married couples that don't really like to do much of anything together.
Except to have sex, apparently.
Hallelujah. I don't know. Shared interest. You got to find someone who likes to do the same things. See, that's what the secular world says. But look at the results they get.
My guess is that depending on the age demographic that they interviewed here, I would say that younger people who were newly married would probably rate the sex higher, and people who've been married a long time that have spent, 30, 40 years together, that it would be the shared interests and what they spend their time doing.
But number 2 was sex. Number 3 was religious.
Household chores.
And
then religion.
So if you combine sex with good faith and help clean a house, you got it made.
Apparently.
All right, I go with
And
that.
doing stuff together.
Doing stuff together.
Besides sex. Shared interests besides sex, outside the bedroom.
Their conclusion is, so we need to teach our kids how to have good sex.
Because it's so important to marriages.
And that just telling them not to do it or to just
Look,
avoid.
I've always believed, I thought that's always been the number one thing. If you can get that part of it right. It's hard to really hate someone that you're having a great time in the sack with. It's such an all-encompassing thing. So I always thought that was already high. But those people don't have very much sex at all, and they seem to be happy. So I don't know. I mean, surveys like that, I don't know what it accomplishes. Shared interests.
Do you remember that show? I can't remember the name of it now. It escapes
My wife
my
and I
brain.
watch the same shows, I guess. I mean, I got hobbies. I like to do stuff. She has
Yeah,
no
but
interest
you-
in it whatsoever.
But you have very much shared interest because of your work, you two spend a lot of time together on that shared interest of the seminars and being on the road. And I mean, you do. That is a one gigantic shared interest, and you spend an awful lot of time
I don't know if
doing
it's a
that
shared
together.
like an interest. It's more like that's just work.
Well, that's what you do,
We gotta go to
right.
work. Everybody's got to go to work.
But if you worked a different job and she went into a different job, then you'd probably have things you'd want to do in common that you'd spend that time together. Just because of the nature of your life, you automatically spend so much time together. Yours is a little bit different.
No, everybody's different. Anyway, I don't know what the point of this. You know what it is?
Well, that's what Phil said. The point is that they want you to realize it's important to teach.
The point was, they said that marriage today looks very different than it did back in the day, where perhaps
financial security
was probably bigger, or maybe we believe the same politically or religiously, and the fact that sex was rated so high, they said, well, that just shows the construct of marriage is an evolving thing, and now that marriage is such a big deal, then we need to better equip our young people.
Better equip them. Best way you can better equip them is encourage them not to be having sex casually, and not having your boys get involved in porn.
Well,
I mean,
it's
seriously,
true,
these are
because
things
both
that
of those
actually
things
ruin that part of it, right?
Yeah,
So anyway, all right.
that's true.
We'll be back with your emails, seeing as I have no really constructive thoughts on this right after this.
Phil did.
He did. That's
Phil
good.
done good.
Attend Mark's Laugh Your Way to a Better Marriage event. Visit laughyourway.com for upcoming dates and locations.
Mark Gungor here in my sparkly jacket, here to talk to you about Transition One, a one-year transition gap year program that we have for kids that are coming out of high school and before they go into college. Slow down. Take a year. The Bible says, seek first the kingdom of God, and all these things that you want will be added to you. Well, we think, oh, no, I got to get the stuff. No, you'll get the stuff. God wants you to get, God will help you get your stuff and do life. But slow down for a minute. You don't need to just rush off in a mad burst to try and get all the stuff you can from the world going to some college. And not everybody should even be going to college. There's a whole nother sermon. But for heaven's sakes, whatever you do, take a year. Slow down. Put God first. This is the most likely time that you'll ever have to take a year and just put God really first in your life. When you're going to do it? After you graduate from college? Not likely. After you get married? Forget about it. When you have kids? Are you kidding? Maybe when you're 65, but then you don't have the energy to go do it anymore. When else are we going to do it? It's the perfect time. It's the perfect time. Encourage your young people. They're freshmen right now. So it's great. Listen, I'm telling you, what I want you to do is, and there's several of these programs out there. I think you should come to ours. But whatever you do, slow down. Get into your kids' thinking. What we're going to do is you're going to go to high school, and then you're going to do a one-year gap program where you're going to focus on your faith and life and how to do life. And then, after that, you can go to college. You can do whatever else. It'll save you a lot of money. It'll help them focus. They'll be changed forever if you will do this. Go check out our website, transition1.org. Transition1.org. Slow down. Put Jesus first. See what that does for our young people. We're back on the Mark Gungor Show, answering your questions about life, love, and marriage. What do you got?
This email, her subject line says, "Parents having trouble, please help." She says, "My parents have been together for a total of 30 years and are the best people to turn to for marriage advice. Lately, though, they've been arguing a lot. My mom can't seem to stand my dad. He has always been supportive in everything she does."
I asked you not to read my email.
Right. But I don't know if she sees that. "My brother was the last one to leave the house, and that happened a couple of months ago. I keep thinking it's empty nest syndrome, but I'm not sure anymore. My mom keeps a lot in, really doesn't tell my dad what he is doing that bothers her, and then she tends to explode and argue. My dad is just getting tired of having to be the bigger person and say he is sorry even when it's not his fault. They have helped so many couples with their advice, and they love your Laugh Your Way to a Better Marriage. How can I help them?
I don't know that you can.
This is not an infrequent question.
I know.
On a regular basis, get kids writing, asking, how do I help my parents' marriage?
And I just think it's a weird dynamic. They're your parents. And, just other than what comes naturally to you, to talk to them and reassure them. And your dad loves you and mom loves you. You guys need to, you know better. I mean, come on, guys, hold it together and stuff. But I don't know that many parents would be that willing to take marriage advice from their kids. I don't think it's a good plan,
Yeah.
I would, if anything, I would encourage them, look, if it's getting bad, go see somebody. Go talk to somebody. Go talk to the pastor, do that kind of thing, and push them in another direction. So I just think it's not a good plan for you to try and become a marriage counselor to your parents.
There could be some awkward things that I wouldn't want my parents to tell me are the issues.
Well, look, the truth
Do you
is,
know what I mean?
Sometimes people need to really be confronted with they're crazy and they're stupid, and they're not going to take it from their kid. So give it to somebody else.
That's true.
You can get in their face and say, "Look, you're not doing the right thing." Da 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 da. Someone they respect, but they're not going to take it from you, by and large. I mean, you can do the simple things like, hey, you guys you shouldn't be so mean to each other, and stop being that way, and quit talking to dad that way, And my parents did that. I mean, and it was very upsetting. Mm-hmm. As an adult, I thought they were headed for a divorce, and I thought, man, this is really, really creepy. Even as an adult,
But did you try to intervene?
Make comments here and there, but they don't listen to you.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just. I was always aware that they're not about to sit there and take relationship advice from me.
Yeah.
I'm their son. We did encourage them to go see someone, and they did, and they made it through. What was sad is they both got dementia, and then they started really loving each other because they couldn't remember they hated each other.
Yeah, but that's not sad. That's really good.
But it's sad that, is that what people need?
Takes.
Is that what it's going to take for people?
Right.
Your parents are going to have to lose their heads and get Alzheimer's before they can start being nice to each other again? Which, what does that tell you? The only way to people not to get along is they got to have really good memories. They are keeping track of things. They are remembering things that are ticking them off at each other. And then you get into that hair trigger. And it was sad. So I would just, if you think it's getting bad, you need to push them. You guys need to go talk to somebody. You need to go talk to somebody. Just keep pushing them in that direction. But I wouldn't try and give you advice. And first of all, I can't give advice third person anyway because I don't really know what they're going through.
Well, you don't know what's going on. Is it emptiness? Is there something else?
I don't know.
There's just no way.
There's no way.
And I wouldn't want my
There's no way
kids
you
to
can come
get
in and
involved.
say, here's my friend's problem or here's my mom's problem and da-da-da and describe it and what's my advice because you're not going to get it right anyway.
Yeah.
I would need to talk to them to really help. So, all right, what else you got?
Tell her to email Mark. Okay, this is a church question, actually. He says, I started listening to your sermons about a year ago. Many of my friends started listening to your sermons as well. Oh. An argument came up concerning your view on modesty of women in the church. Mm-hmm. One of my friends got the impression that you don't care about modesty in the church. I argue that you do care about modesty when it comes to believers, but are more lenient when it comes to unbelievers. Mm-hmm. Since I never heard the issue addressed directly in any sermon that I've listened to, I can't make any solid conclusions. Can you express your views on the subject and what would be considered modest or immodest in your church? And he says, P.S. Mark, you are the best looking preacher ever. And I really like that you are completely random at times.
He's just trying to suck up so he gets
so he gets a nice answer.
You're a good-looking man. Well, let's answer that email.
I don't know that you are the best-looking preacher ever.
I'm the best-looking guy I've ever seen.
I think I've seen one or two.
No, you don't even know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
What he's talking about is, there's ladies in the church who get mad, and they'll make comments about, I don't like the way that lady's dressing, and her showing too much cleavage, and why they think that I don't have a stand on it. My stand is mind your own stinking business. It's not your job to go around being the Taliban of modesty in the church. Don't be a jerk, Now, if you're close friends with these ladies and you want to speak into their lives, but they're not speaking into their lives. They're criticizing them. I don't like the way she dresses. I don't like the way my husband looks at her. Nah. Really? How about you slap your husband upside the head if he's looking at her? All right, and I tell the girls, ladies, don't show the girls. Right?
Cover the
do I not say, look,
say it.
We get it. You're well endowed.
Yes.
You've been very blessed. Cut us some slack. It's hard to worship Jesus when all we're thinking is, holy cow, look at those things. You introduce yourself to a lady, and you want to say, it's really nice to meet both of you. And that's when your mind's going in the wrong place. So I've said all these things from the pulpit. They think, well, he doesn't care. Of course I care. You shouldn't be dressing in a way such like that. But then they said, well, what if that she's dressing like a prostitute? And my answer to that is, well, what are you going to do if prostitutes come?
Because they'll probably be dressed like that.
They're going to be dressed like that? We can have a fit about prostitutes, man? We should set up a sign on the church. Prostitutes welcome. Mm-hmm. Hookers free.
Free?
Yeah, no
There's
ties.
a cover charge?
You have to
No cover charge to
no,
get
not
into.
cover charge to see them. Hookers can come without offerings or whatever.
You're losing this
Yeah.
analogy.
Yeah.
Anyway, the point is...
You don't want to say free hookers because then you'll have a whole bunch of people coming just for that.
Yeah, for the free hooker. The point is you're going to get all kinds of people coming to church. And they're not going to get it. Some of the people who come to our church, who are newly saved, come in looking like holy stinking cow. Because their version of dressing up
is dressing
sexually.
Yeah. Yep,
That's
true.
their version. They don't know. The only time they dress up is when they're taking a cocktail dress, and the girl. And some of them are really well endowed ladies, man, and they're out there and they're all dressed up and sparkly and stuff the way that they would if they're going to some supper club. What are you going to yell at them? You don't yell at them. Well, I think it's inappropriate. Well, why don't you become friends of this girl? And get her in your Bible study and encourage her and pray with her and start showing her, about how to dress. And you can start doing it in nice ways. But I'm not going to go running up to ladies and smack them upside of the head for the way that they dress. I just think, the people, they just want to control things. So seriously, I say Taliban, but there's really a version of that. There's a version of the modesty. You go to a Muslim country, they'll arrest you and throw you in jail. We don't do that, okay? We don't have the modesty police here. We want these ladies to come in and find Christ and stuff like that. They don't get church. There's what we would call traditional church ways of getting dressed up for church. They only know one way of getting dressed up, going out to party or something like that. So they come. Because other than that, they have jeans and they look like bums. And it's just like everybody else. Everybody, frumpy. Well, let's go to church. Well, let's get dressed up.
Yep.
They reach for the clothes that they get dressed up in, which tends to be immodest. What are you going to throw them out of your church? Well, if you do, send them over to my church. I'll tell you. You don't want them, send them over to me. So everybody should just chill and relax a little bit. Good grief. My husband looks at it. Well, then smack your husband. Hey, quit looking at her. And then a lot of these, come on, who are we kidding? Who are the most insecure people in the world? Women. Some of these women. They're so insecure. Oh, so insecure. And if you're a lady who's all decked out and looking real, they're going to get all freaked out. And how about you quit being so insecure and being paranoid? You think the lady's not dressing properly? Talk to her. Become her friend first.
Right.
Walk up to somebody you don't know and rebuke them.
Right.
They're just coming to church for the first time. There's girls, I met some ladies this last Sunday dressing in that kind of way. It's like the second, third time they were there. Yeah. I'm not even sure they're saved at this point. All they know is what a neat place, and everybody loves everybody. And first time she said something that even remotely connected to faith. I think, praise God, she's starting to get it.
Yeah.
I'm not going to tell her, quit coming to church dressed that way.
Well, and it depends on the culture in the city and where you come from, because we have a mutual friend who lived in Las Vegas and came from Vegas. And to her, even at her, what she called the most modest, freaked people out. But coming from Las Vegas, that was a very dressed down, modest version of what she typically would have worn.
Absolutely.
So she couldn't understand.
It depends on parts of the country. Again, in Vegas, they're going to look different than here. You go to South Florida, all the women seem to dress immodest because it's so warm.
Yeah. Well, I noticed a difference in South Africa.
The nice thing about Wisconsin is it's so puking cold.
Yeah.
Women tend to cover themselves. So we don't have nearly the problem. Yeah. So anyway, grow up. What are you going to do if everybody walks around half naked? You're going to lose your salvation? For heaven's sake, you're a man. Control yourself.
Go find a church in Siberia.
For heaven's sakes.
Really?
All right, let's take a break. We'll be back with more emails right after this.
Have a marriage dilemma? Email your questions to ask@markgungor.com, and Mark can answer them during one of our shows.
music of Jimmy Bratcher. Check it out, jimmybratcher.com. What do you got?
Okay, she says, I've been married for almost 8 years and have 2 children with my husband. He was abusive. I left and asked for counseling, medication, etc. He refuses. Now my divorce finals are fast approaching. I tried praying. I got counseling myself, tried for 2 years before I actually started the divorce. How do I handle the pain of this divorce? Even though I know it was a toxic situation, I still hurt. I know I am doing what's best for my safety, but I also feel like I failed.
It's supposed to hurt. That's what people don't understand. What would be weird is if it didn't hurt. That's what's weird. She's acting like it's weird because I hurt so bad. It's supposed to hurt like crazy. And it's like if I go up and break your arm and I say, oh, I'm sorry about that. It's still going to hurt, right? There's diseases where people can't feel pain. We've talked about this before. Yeah. Isn't it like Coach Dungy doesn't have a son or something like that has one of these? Because when you can't feel pain or very low sensation, you be chewing a piece of chicken, pretty soon blood's coming out of you because you're chewing on your tongue. You can't feel it. You know, you don't know when to stop and when to push and when something's too hot. And it's one of the worst things. It's a horrible disease to have when you cannot feel pain. People would think, wouldn't that be great if you couldn't feel pain? No, it's awful.
It's very
awful.
Dangerous.
It's very, very dangerous. So it's supposed to hurt, and you're experiencing what you should be experiencing. There's nothing wrong, dear.
It takes time.
It takes time to heal.
And some churches have the divorce care groups that I have heard have been very helpful to some folks that have gone through. So you might want to check into that.
Yeah. But don't think there's something strange happening to you. That's why we work as hard as we do to try and stop people from getting divorced and saving their marriages, because it is so awful. It is horrible. When God says, I hate divorce, it's not just the act of divorce per se, like he hates the filing of it. It's what it does to people, particularly what it does to women and children, particularly in that day. Mm-hmm. Back in the day, when you would divorce a woman, she was done. I mean, they had no way of making them, they couldn't get jobs. They were in abject poverty. A lot of them had to turn to prostitution just to feed their children. Mm-hmm. It was horrible. And these men, for whatever reason, would get mad and they'd divorce their wife and go get another one. These girls now, they got nothing. And God hated that. When God says, I hate divorce, it's what it does to people and what it was doing to these families, these children, these women who had been promised love and security, and then you dump them for whatever reason. God hated that. So that's why he hates divorce, because of what it does to people. And it's not going to change for you. It hurts. It's supposed to hurt. But you will heal eventually. It hurts enough. It's like, you know why I don't put my hand in the fire? Because it really hurts. It does.
Yes.
I avoid it as much as I can.
So I'm sorry, I have to jump in and tell you this. Yesterday was my grandson's birthday party. He just turned 2, and he did just that.
Yeah, that's what they do.
Because he was so curious. We were all sitting at the table, and he was
tell
on his
him
mama's
hot,
lap.
they don't get it.
And the candles were there, and he was so mesmerized by his cake, and he reached out, and it was like, and the look on his face, because he had to figure it out. Now he will never do that again.
They do in the shock, and they
he
start crying and freaking out and stuff because
he learned it.
You would think you could reason with someone that if you stick your hand in there, but you can't.
Yeah, because we kept saying, it's hot, it's hot. He was looking at it, and he would reach, and then finally he couldn't take it. He had to stick his finger. The poor little dude.
It's supposed to hurt. I don't know why people do this. Divorce is so devastating. It's so many. What do they say? There's some studies that say that people don't live as long who've been through it. I mean, what the emotional, physical toll that it can take on you is very, very serious. Now, that's not to say if you've been divorced, you're in trouble if you're dead tomorrow. I'm just saying it's a big stinking deal. It's very harsh. Just the financial. I posted that on my website, Facebook, not too long ago. The one way that you can virtually guarantee financial disaster for you, your children, and your grandchildren, just get a divorce. You think just the cost of that alone would keep people from doing it. But they don't. It's like they can't stop. And it hurts, it's painful, and there's a lot of suffering that may go on for many, many years. All right, we'll be back after this short break.
Caution, the Mark Gungor Show contains adult content intended for an adult audience. We
are back on the Mark Gungor Show with Phil, Diane, and Mark Gungor. What do you got?
He says, I am a young male, 17 years old, and struggling with pornography. At this point, the sin is having its way with me, and I don't do any fighting anymore. It has separated me from the will of God and even drives me to question the power of the cross and my salvation. I never was big into reading scripture, and it only happens at church now Wednesdays and Sundays. I don't know any answers on how to finally defeat this sin once and for all. I know that a person of light doesn't walk in darkness. I was saved when I was 7 and have trusted God with my life even to this day. I want to give my sexuality to God and gain control over this monster I've let form. What has worked for the people you have helped, or am I just lost forever? He says about 5 years. He's been doing this since the age of 12, I guess.
It's forever. Listen, here's what you're doing. I'm positive this is what you're doing. Guys like you who struggle, what they're thinking is, I keep feeling these feelings. And they pray, God, take away these feelings. And I'm trying to pray about these feelings. And I don't know how to overcome these feelings. What you have to understand is God isn't going to take away those feelings. It's not about God taking away your feelings, okay? The only way God can take away your feelings is to kill you, literally, physically. Your body has these feelings. It is what it is. Getting victory over this area is not having the feelings. What you have to learn is that you don't have to do what you feel. Once that revelation hits your head, when you start to understand, I don't have to do what I feel, that's when the freedom comes. That's when the victory comes. Every single guy who has a victory in this area, it's not because they don't have the feelings. We all have the feelings. We're men. We like naked ladies. We like sex. We like all this stuff. Your body will feel this. I'm in my 60s. I still feel it. Apparently, you still feel it in your 90s. For guys, I don't know about women, but for guys, it's like it never stops. But what you have to learn is I don't have to do what I feel. If I did everything I felt, I'd be in jail today. Or in a nut house. I guarantee you. Because I feel very bad things. I talk about it all the time. Men feel bad things. I talk about it in my seminar. The good news about the cross is we learn I don't have to do what I feel. When your body yells and screams, you got to do it. You really feel like doing this. You go, yeah, I definitely feel like doing that. Well, then you got to do it. No, I don't. I don't have to do it at all. Nobody forces you to masturbate. It's not like little porn gnomes drag you out of bed in the middle of the night and stick you in front of a computer while you grab yourself. You do that. You do that because you think I have to give into the feelings, but you don't. And I promise you, you're 17. A lot of this actually isn't even your fault. Your entire generation has been brainwashed into thinking you have to do what you feel. If you feel like you don't want to work, you don't have to work. If you feel like you don't want to do something, you don't have to do something. It's destroying people. People aren't succeeding. Successful people never ask themselves how they feel. But you're in a culture where your teachers are telling you how to feel, and you got to do what you feel. And, if you feel a little bit like you're attracted to another boy, that means you're gay. And if you're a girl, feel like then you're definitely lesbian. And everybody has to feel, and whatever you feel. And there's the entire culture that you guys are growing up in now is obsessed with feelings. It is destroying your culture. That's why these kids in college and stuff, these little tiny snowflakes are melting because they don't like something a politician says or some talk that somebody doesn't like. They got to have safe spaces. They cry, and they got to have puppies and draw coloring books. Grown men and women because they're obsessed with feelings. Well, I can't fix all those crazy people. It's not even my job to fix those crazy people. My calling is to help people in the church. What you need to understand and your generation needs to understand, you have got to get this through your head. And forget about the masturbating and porn thing. This is in every area of your life. You have got to separate your feelings. We don't live by how we feel. If you live by how you feel, you'll never succeed. You'll never really work very hard because who feels like working very hard? You'll never become a good musician because who feels like practicing? You're never going to become good at sports because who feels like lifting weights and starving yourself for the wrestling squad? You're never going to do anything. You're never going to start a business because who feels like working 18-hour days? Nobody. You're inevitably going to get married and end up in divorce because who feels like dealing with a wife? I don't want to deal with her. She's a pain in the rear. I want to go find somebody else. This is your entire generation. It is what is rotting your souls. And all of us at my age, I'm telling you, are very concerned about our nation because you guys, the older you get, you're not shaking it. And pretty soon our entire culture is going to implode because we have a bunch of psychotic nutcases that are obsessed about their feelings. And they have to go with their feelings. And I'm telling you, you don't. The beautiful thing about walking with Jesus and the power of the Holy Spirit in your life, this is the great joy. We don't have to do what we feel. Mark, do you feel like bad things sometimes? Oh, you have no idea. At times it's very depressing. I have very bad days about a variety of things. I just keep coming back to thank God I don't have to do what I feel. In fact, I think, man, I can see why people who feel like me right now go do stupid things because they feel they can't help but do it. But you don't have to do it. Because the Bible says the grace of God teaches us to say no. No to what? The feelings. What do you think temptation is? Temptations are feelings. So you guys are all saying, oh, Lord, take away these feelings, and I can't help it, and I see that I want to look at these pictures, and I feel like, and look at part of your body, you're a young man, you have all this building up inside of you, you want a sexual release, that's what should drive you to find a wife, not to sit there and masturbate. And by the way, the more you masturbate, the more you're going to train your body to respond that way. You know, a lot of guys like you, they get married, and then they don't have sex with their wives because they'd rather masturbate than have. They're so conditioned to their hand, they can't even enjoy a woman's body. You don't want to do that. Some of these guys damage their penises by doing this stuff. Their testosterone levels drop by doing. There are so many bad things with masturbating, not even on a moral level, just on a physical and psychological level that is so destructive. The good news is you don't have to do it.
You know what's... I saw a documentary about some military guys or something. He's talking about... he started off with the Rangers, went Green Berets, Delta Force, all this stuff. And he said, the best piece of advice he ever got was from a guy, because he's asking, what's it like? What's it like? And he said, they'll never ask you to do anything that they don't think you can do. And he said, as simple as that was the best advice. Because every day he got up, no matter how tough it was, he kept telling himself, well, I know it would never ask me something I couldn't do. And he went through that stuff, which is the same thing as says in 1 Corinthians. God will not tempt you beyond what you can bear. So no matter what you're feeling or what you're going through, to know that, you know what? He would never give me something that I couldn't bear, something that I couldn't handle.
That's true. But see, a lot of these guys, they surrender as soon as the feelings overtake them.
Mm-hmm.
And they think I can't handle it.
I can't handle it because I feel it. It's too
me.
much. No, because you'll never. And you don't have to do what you feel. That's the key. You do not have to do. You want to change your life? Become absolutely convinced. Say to yourself all the time, I do not have to do what I feel. I don't have to.
And that's the power of the cross. When he said, it even drives me to question the power of the cross. Well, it's not, I think he's looking exactly like what you're saying. He's looking for the feelings to not be there. And that's where he thinks that power is ineffective. But it's not. It's the power to say no to your feelings, not to just have those feelings go away.
The feelings, you know how many Christians get discouraged because of their feelings? They feel envious and they shouldn't.
Oh, you feel terrible for all the things that you think and
that you
feel.
Shouldn't. That you see some really pretty girl up there worshiping the Lord, and all you can do is look at her boobs and think, like, oh man, look at those boobs, and you feel bad and you shouldn't. It's called temptation. It's everywhere. The good news, we don't have to do what we feel. But your generation has convinced you have to. And as long as you do, you'll be a victim all your life. You want to be free? You can be free today. You don't have to do what you feel. It doesn't matter. The next time you feel that, you need to start laughing and say, I don't have to do this. Next time you feel like you have to turn on a computer and masturbate, I don't have to do this. Next time you want to grab yourself and you can feel it, you realize, you know what? I don't have to do this. That's the victory, that you don't have to do it. The feelings may never change. The good news is you don't have to do it. Once you start doing that, you become master of your own domain, and will start to succeed in life greatly. And I wish so many could hear that message. All right, we'll take a break. We'll be back with more right after this.
Download your free Mark Gungor app today to see all of the latest from the world of Mark Gungor.
Who I am is not at home.
We're back on the Mark Gungor Show, answering more emails about your love lives. What do you got?
Next email says, separated but still in love. It's a guy writing. He says, my wife and I got separated earlier this year after she cheated on me 5 times that I know of.
Whoa. 5 times or 5 different guys?
5 times. I think 5 different guys, if I get that from the rest of the email, that he knows of. And then she tried to stab me when I wouldn't drive her to her boyfriend's house. Now she claims to be afraid of me because I defended myself. I took temporary custody of our daughter, forced her into counseling and addiction treatment through a court order. She now lives on her own, and I feel she's probably screwing every Tom, Dick, and Harry, including my former best friend.
Okay.
I can tell that mentally she's improving, but everyone around me that's on my side is bitter against the whole situation and constantly tells me to drop all contact with her, basically kicking her to the curb.
Yeah.
The problem is that it feels as if God is telling me that she is an important part of my path in life and that she will come around. This is just something she has to go through before she can fully commit to me. He says that she was raped by uncles on both sides of the family and spent 11 years with a pedophile before she ever met me. I guess my question is it wrong?
Did he know that before he married her?
I don't know. I would guess so. Is it wrong of me to feel so strongly that I need to stand by this woman? No matter the pain from the physical, emotional, mental abuse she has inflicted upon me, I feel as if part of why I was put here is to guard her, guide her, and show her what love truly is. Am I crazy?
Yes. Thank you for writing. God bless you. Next email. No, we'll give it a little bit more time than that. Look, generally speaking, if you have a woman that you married who has sex with everybody she runs into and then, I don't know, tries to stab you, you probably should move on. That is my advice. But you're a grown man. It's your choice. No one's forced. If you want to wait it out, you can wait it out. Your friends probably tell you you're crazy. I think you're crazy, but if you think that's what you want to do, it's your choice. There's choice in this. Well, God's making me. Nah, it's your choice. You decide if you think that's what you want to do and it's in your heart, you want to wait for her. And wow, that's great. See, my advice in the first place is if you would have known she was that badly damaged sexually, I would have told you not to marry her in the first place. Again, these people, they ignore what's obvious.
My guess is he knew it or had at least some inclination of some of it because women like that tend to talk and tell. That I don't think that she would be had been hiding all of that.
Yeah.
That's just my experience with women like that.
If you're willing to wait, that's your call. Look, it's your choice. You can leave her. You have every right to leave her, marry someone. You got every right to just stay single for the rest of your life. You got A, B, C, D, E, F, G choices in front of you. If one of your choices, I'm just going to wait and see if we can redeem this girl. Most people like me would say, especially your friends, if I was your friend, I'd say, dude, you're crazy. You need to move on. But if you say, no, this is what I want to do, then great. That's your choice. Marriage is about choices. It's not about divine revelation. God doesn't force people to get married. It's not your destiny one way or the other, I don't think. These are choices, and you need to choose well. If you didn't choose well, and you want to wait it out, then great.
What you wouldn't want to do, though, is say, okay, I'm going to wait it out, wait 3 more years, nothing changes. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like when you find out that she's having the affair stuff, and then you go on and say, well, she didn't change 3 years from now, so now I'm out?
Guys like this would wait 15, 20 years. So there's people like that. I think they're a little nuts. I wouldn't do it. There's no way. Wouldn't take 5 other men and a stabbing. It would be one time. I'm done. Moving on. That's what I would do. That would be my advice. My advice is you need to move on. But ultimately, it's his choice. If a guy says, I know what it is, I know what I'm doing, I know what everybody's told me my advice is, my options are, I choose to wait and see if she can come around. That's his call. It's not illegal, it's not immoral, it's ill-advised. But is he asking for my advice? He wants to know if I'm crazy. Yeah, I think you're a little crazy. I think it's a bad idea. But it's your choice. You got to be a big boy. You got to wear the choice, and it is what it is. You have to understand it might be 10 years, 15 years from now, and she still won't change. And now you're going to be that much further on. And how old is he?
Well, I didn't ask how old.
You might. I don't know. It's all about choices. I think you should let her go, move on. If somehow you want to wait this out and maybe see an incredible miracle.
It would be quite the story.
It would be quite the story. I'd be the first one to say, wow, amazing. I'd have told you to dump her,
Yeah.
But this is your choice. You want advice? You've gotten advice. You've got advice from all your friends, all the people around you say you need to move on. I don't know you from Adam. I'm telling you to move on. But you don't want to listen to anybody's advice and you want to do this, that's his call.
Yeah. If that's what he really feels.
There's nothing immoral or evil about it. I just think
when they have a child, so he'll always be connected to her through this child in some way.
Anyway, yeah. But golly,
have to deal with
someone tries to stab me.
I take that as a "I better stay away" sign.
That's kind of a hint. I should probably move on.
Yeah.
But, it's your choice. Anyway, God bless you for it. We'll take a break and be back with our final segment right after this.
Want more of Mark? Visit markgungor.com. There you will find everything that Mark has to offer.
I've grown to love these rainy days.
We're back on the Mark Gungor Show. Listen to the music of Michael O'Brien. Check out his music at michaelo.org. What do you got?
She says, I've been dating this guy for about 5 months. At first, I didn't find him at all attractive. I think like physically attractive.
Mm-hmm.
I know that looks fade and it's what's inside that matters. I've tried to get past that, but I keep coming back to seeing the way I find him unattractive. Although we do get along with each other and he treats me good, even though I've prayed about it and fasted about it.
Don't pray
It
about
still
it and
bothers
fast
me.
about it. This is your call. Honestly, what's the matter with you people? Come on. You're dating someone. The point of dating is to see if you want to spend the rest of your life with them. If you're dating someone and they make you, want to vomit,
Well,
you probably should
he
move
doesn't
on.
make her want to vomit. She's really happy with the way he treats her, and he's really nice to her, but there's just not this physical attraction.
Then move
thing.
on. Move on. What? People think there's really just that one guy they're ever going to have, maybe?
I think it makes her feel
Well,
like
and
a really shallow person.
And it makes a difference, like, because I hear,
Well, she probably is a very shallow person. That's what it is. Then move on.
I mean, when you say that out loud, it does sound kind of shallow.
I'm going to fast and pray because I find someone not very attractive. What the heck is that? You can fast and pray.
But he's nice to me.
He's still ugly.
But he's nice to me. He treats me well.
I can fast for a month and a half, and if you ugly, you still gonna be ugly.
But she
Good
says she
night.
knows looks will fade, and if he's nice to her, and maybe he'd be a good match for her, but she's just not.
Looks will fade, dear. Already, you're saying there are no looks to start with, so it's only going to get worse.
You know what?
And by the way,
there are men who were not so attractive when they
They're
were
much
younger.
better looking as
and
they
they
get older.
are much better looking as they get older.
yeah, actually, the reverse is likely true, dear. You know whose looks are likely to fade? Yours. The chances of who's going to get better looking is going to be him. That's the reality of it. Men tend to get better with age, and women do not. And it is what it is. There's some that break that.
not all though.
Not all.
You might want to see a photo first to
A photo first of who?
The guy?
Of the guy.
tell you if there's
Well,
hope.
some of these guys, they look better. They become more confident later in
Yeah.
life. They,
There's just
little
something-
gray in their hair. They just, they just start looking better. But that's not neither here nor there. The reality is you have a major sticking point that really makes you uncomfortable with this guy. That means don't date him anymore. Stop.
And
maybe
reverse
it's
it.
because he smells. Maybe it's because he picks his nose and scratches his butt in public. Maybe it's, I don't know. Maybe it's because, you find out he used to pimp women out in the streets of Las Vegas and had sex with 50 different women in the last month before he became a Christian. Now I have a problem with that. Whatever your problem is, if you're dating someone, the point of dating is, can I find someone that I can do life with? Now, nobody's perfect. I get it. I'm not saying be super picky, but if you find some major thing, I just can't get past this, I can't, then move on. So many of these emails lately from these dating people, I don't understand it. Or you need major relationship counseling while you're dating. Really? Dump them and move on. Your dating thing should be, I love this person. I love to be around this person. I want to be around this person for the rest of my life because when I'm with her, I'm a better man than when I'm not. When I'm with him, I'm a better person than when I'm not. That's the idea. When you already know, gee, I don't like that, and this kind of bothers me, or, the one lady wrote us last week, he's had sex with other women, I haven't, that really bothers me. Then just dump him and move on. Dating, here's what drives me crazy. People have no problem giving up on their marriages.
Yeah.
It's like they throw it away like dirty diapers. What they have a problem is giving up on the dating. That I don't understand.
Because there's still hope on the other side.
Well, this is, for heaven's sakes, it's not about hope. When you get married, it's about a commitment. I don't care if you have any hope. We're supposed to do this for life, right? But they're more willing to fight for their dating stupidity than they are for the marriage.
You're right. That's actually brilliant, Phil, that there's hope involved in the dating. When they get into marriage, they lose all hope and they just think it's not going to get any better. Done.
I know, and that's wrong because it shouldn't matter whether you have hope or not in the marriage.
It's about commitment.
It's about commitment. They're jacked up because they live in this fantasy. But I'm telling you, they're more committed to the dating than they are to the marriage. Y'all are crazy. When you're dating someone, you're not committed to them. You're under no obligation to marry these people. You can't stand them. You don't like them. They make you want to hurl. They irritate you. They're too fat. They're too skinny. They're too bald. They're too hairy. Whatever your problem is, move on. For heaven's sakes, but they can't. They can't let it go. Even when they write us and they tell us how awful the person is and how they can't get along or I can't get past their past. But they won't give up. Because what Phil talks about this hope.
The hope. Because the higher the hope, the higher the commitment. The lower the hope, the lower the commitment.
Brilliant, perfect sense. But they're backwards. Yeah. They treat the dating with more I won't let it go than their marriage. Because if they get married, which a lot of these nitwits will anyway, now 2 years later, they're out. Because what he talks about, the hope. See, they're driven more by hope than their brains and by their commitments. So many people are just, I'm telling you, they're so upside down in this deal.
I'm stuck on that. That's really good. You have to sever the connection between the hope and the commitment. The commitment has to be there regardless of the hope, right?
Well, sometimes you don't have any hope. Sometimes things feel hopeless.
But it's the commitment.
Your commitment. My wife and I are in this for life.
Instead of being connected.
This is it. We're here. Sometimes we make each other incredibly happy and we have a wonderful time together. Other days we just irritate the snot out of each other. And it feels hopeless. Doesn't matter. Because we don't live how we feel. There again. I got to do what I feel. No, you don't. You live by what's right and avoid what's wrong. You do what's right, you avoid what's wrong. But it's all emotionally driven. Everybody's so emotionally driven. They're more emotionally driven in their dating time. Or they won't give up on the dating. But they'll toss the marriage in the garbage in a heartbeat. Somebody explain that. That is just crazy. All kinds of versions of crazy we find out here on the Mark Gungor Show. If you got a version of crazy, you'd like to know what we think, sit down, type it out, send us your story, and ask us what we think, and we will not hold back. Just send it to ask@markgungor.com. Ask, ASK, at markgungor, GUNGOR.com, and we will tell you what we think. Anyway, have a good life.
Cool, though.
Think it through. Do the right thing. Stay away from the wrong things. All right? See ya.
Bye-bye, boys.
Have fun storming the castle.